Good morning, Americans. This is your favorite alien on Sunday, August the 13th, 2023. Stand by for commentary. Well, today's commentary is on the old folks, specifically the baby boom generation, 1946 to 64, and the Gen Xers, 65 to 81. Our generations, specifically the baby boomers, you're going to be 77 years old from 1946, and 1964, you're 58. So we're getting old. In 2 years, the entire baby boom generation will be in the old folks club. And the Gen Xers, 65, you'll start being 60 in 3 years, in 81, and you're already 42 years already. And to give you an example, unlike the generations before us, and our two generations make the backbone of the American system right now. Us and the baby boomers were fading away fast. And the Gen Xers, well, they never did know what they were going to do, so they're fading away fast. Generation after them, the millennials, oh boy, they're a lost generation. And the Z generation, that's going to be interesting. But the millennials are a lost generation. But us generations, us, the baby boomers, who were more of the extremists than any other generation, before or since. To some extent the Gen Xers, but maybe about 10% or 15% of their generations were extremists. Whereas 45 to 50% of us, the baby boomers, are extremists. Look at all those extremist rightist Republicans and extremist leftist Democrats. Most of those are baby boomers. You know, the ones who were born in 1946, by 1966 they were 20 years old, 18 to 20, so in the late 1960s, Vietnam era, dissenters and objectors, a lot of them were baby boomers. And that precluded and the Watergate and all the rest. Look at all the people that are claiming for all these special counsels and investigations here, investigations there. Yeah, baby boomers. We have caused a lot of problems, our generation. We were the biggest generation since the war. And even though we haven't got yet in the old folks club, we still need another 2 years to go to be in the 60s, to be the entire generation in the old folks club. Notice that a lot of our generation has passed away earlier than most generations. Sure, you got pain in the asses like Donald J. Trump and the silent generation of Mr. Biden. Oh boy. Their generation, I don't know what happened to their generation. There wasn't the greatest generation, but the silent generation, they just were left behind. You know, it went from the greatest generation to the baby boomers, and the silent generation just, that's why we had the 50s and 60s, I guess, because, wow, by the time the baby boomers got to be 18 and 20 years old in the early and mid-60s, and then we were the complaining generation, because we started, oh, we don't like Vietnam. No, you silent generations, what the hell are you doing? You see what I mean? But look at our generation, the baby boomers. We've had Addictions, suicides started with us. Mass shootings started with us. We're a generation that doesn't know what the hell we're doing. And we still don't. And we're getting to be old. The music, and you can tell the music, the 60s music is a lot different than the Gen Xers and the 80s. You know, we were 60s and 70s. We had disco. We had rock and roll. We had hard rock. Yeah. If you were baby boomers of the generations of the Asians, well, look at your generations of all your countries. Japanese especially. Koreans. African Americans. The Gen Xers, I mean the baby boomers from the African Americans were crazy. And the Gen Xers, to a certain extent, don't know which way is up. Been a lot of killings on both sides, on every denomination or pigmentation here. But our generation, 46 to 64 baby boomers, look at all the people we've lost ahead of time because of our thinking. You know? I mean, if you look at that, some that were late, silent, early baby boomers that we lost in the 70s, that were 20 years and something years old. Janis Joplin. Jimi Hendrix. You know, we lost them there. Yeah. All the people that we lost in our generation ahead of their time. John F. Kennedy Jr. Because of a craziness that he had with airplanes, and he wasn't really meant to fly airplanes, and look what happened to him. But because he had money and he had the will and nobody told him what to do, he wanted to do what he wanted to do. And that's what our generation's fault was. We didn't have a guidance. Our parents didn't know how to handle us. I had the greatest fortune of being raised by my grandparents. Depression era. So I was not a true baby boomer because I had Depression era values, which I still treasure today. And thank goodness that I had my grandparents. My brothers and sisters grew up with my parents, my mother, and she tried her best. She wasn't good, but she was the best mother she could be at the time. And there's no such thing as a good mother. There never is, or a good father, because, well, you have other outside interests. And in our generation, the outside interests started getting bigger and bigger. Today, you got social media that outsource everybody. So you don't have the family unit anymore for the new generations. But we sowed the seed in our generation of the United States disintegration. It all started with our baby boomer generation. And when we pass away, and we're passing away at a higher rate than the generation before us, and the Gen Xers are falling at a higher rate too. The only one that has a higher rate right now is the Generation C, because they're getting into suicides at a higher rate than both us and the Gen Xers had. And addictions is becoming prevalent under the Generation C. It was prevalent under the Gen Xers and the baby boomers, but the Gen Xers see for every one of us and we're addicted, there's about 3 of them that are. So they're going to lose theirs before they even get to be old fogies at 40. That's kind of bad, huh? Most of them are not going to see 30. That's how bad it's getting, people. And what are you doing about it? Absolutely nothing. You're just turning a blind eye to it. Generations of me, for the great baby boomer generation, we turned our backs to our parents, we turned our backs to everything, and we are paying the price today. The Gen Xers didn't know what the hell they were going to do. They still don't. And it's not because of them, it's because of us and our previous generations caused them to be that way. And then the United States became a superpower just before we came into being, 1945. And we grew up under a superpower, which generations before us didn't. They grew up under the United States being awful. And it was, if you look at the generations before us. We had everything under the sun. Generations that are coming after us won't have that. They'll be like the generations before us. But we never learned our lesson. So, as the baby boomer generation, I say, we are responsible for the demise of the United States and the world system. No matter where you are in the planet, if you were born between 1946 and 64, and 65 and 81, our two generations are responsible for the disaster of the human extinction. This is your favorite alien. Good day.